All right, Sunday, April 3rd. I got three top picks for the NBA today, three top plays. The first one, let's get into it. The Knicks -5 at Orlando. I know a lot of people don't want to buy the Knicks in this spot, but I'll tell you guys this. The Knicks have been good with no rest. The Knicks have been good in second games on back-to-backs. They're not a team that after the first game they're just gassed and they have no energy for the second game. They're a team that plays kind of rusty in the first game and doesn't have all their chips lined up. And they get some of the kicks out the way, and then they play better basketball the second time around when they have more of a flow and more of a rhythm. So the Knicks are a team that's better on the second game of back-to-backs. They're a team that's better with less rest when they just go out there and play. They're a team that's better on the road. They lost the game yesterday at home at Madison Square Garden to the Cavaliers. The Cavs came in there and popped them. So a lot of people don't want to buy the Knicks in this spot, but it's a good spot to buy the Knicks. The Magic are falling apart. The Magic are a team that's struggling, just 2-8 in their last 10 games. They're on a 5-game losing streak. The Knicks are also without Julius Randle and Kemba Walker, and people think those are the best players on the team, and they might be the best individual players on the team from a talent perspective, but those guys, their production is not, it doesn't equate to winning for the Knicks. The Knicks don't play better basketball with those guys on the floor. They hold the ball too long. They don't. When the Knicks don't have Julius Randle particularly on the court, when they don't have Randle on the court, they swing the ball better. The whole team they just play with more flow. They play with a better rhythm. There's more catch and shoot threes. There's more spacing, more dribble drives. So they get into their offense quicker. So the Knicks, once again, they're a team that plays good with limited rest. They're a team that plays good on the road. They're a team that plays good without Randle and them on the court. I expect them to be moving and grooving a little better. And, this is also a fade of the Orlando Magic, who aren't the greatest team. So Knicks -4.5. It's showing -5 here, but I was able to get it just now at -4.5. The -4.5s, they're out there. So don't get a -5. Go ahead, get a -4.5. I know it just doesn't sound too appealing. You don't want to take the Knicks on the road by a couple baskets, but the Knicks have been solid this year as road favorites. So Knicks -4.5, official play, lock it in. Okay, so the second official play of the day, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Houston Rockets. Minnesota -4.5 first quarter. And I like this play for several reasons. The Timberwolves are 9-1 in their last 10 first quarter covers. They're 9-1 against the spread their last 10. And I want to say the one game that they didn't cover, they won the quarter, but they just didn't cover the quarter. So the Timberwolves are a great first quarter team. They come out the gates with a lot of energy. The problem with the Timberwolves is they're a young group. So they'll get off to a hot start and they'll be balling, but they won't stay focused for the entire game. So they're balling early on, but they don't stay focused, and they allow you to come back, or they'll allow you to get backdoor covers. So this 13.5, if I had to pick between the Wolves and the Rockets, I probably would take the Wolves with the 13.5. But the spread is just too big. It leaves the door open for a lot of backdoor possibilities, especially with if the Wolves are up big and they rest their guys with a couple minutes left because they're trying to stay healthy for the playoffs. It just could leave just the most classic traditional backdoor that we see in NBA basketball sometimes. So I wouldn't want to take that big full game cover, but that first quarter cover, it's very appealing. Like I said, the Wolves 9-1 in their last 10 first quarters. The Wolves, just like they did last game, they got us against the Nuggets. They came out the gates balling in the first quarter. They ball in the first quarter. So they're focused. They're trying to secure a playoff spot and not have to be in the play-in. And so every game matters to them. They're amped up. They had a day of rest before this game. They're focused. They're sharp. They're going to pull it together. They're focused. They're sharp. They're going to pull it together. They're going to play hard for each other early on, and they're going to come out the gates knowing that this is a game that they need, and that 4.5 isn't going to be too much for them in the first quarter. So they should take care of business with that there. The first half, I believe, is -8 or -8.5. For the full game being 13.5, that -8.5, -8, it's pretty high. So it's a little bit of an indication that the Wolves are going to get on them early on. So, can the Wolves hit the trifecta spot first quarter, first half, full game? It's possible, but they're just so good in the first quarter, and they're going to be so focused coming into this game because they need this win that I think first quarter is our best bet. So Wolves -4.5, lock it in, official play. And for the third and final play of the day, we got the New Orleans Pelicans at the Los Angeles Clippers. The Pelicans are +2.5 on the road, and the Pelicans have been covering. The Pelicans have been covering on the road since they got CJ McCollum. They obviously just won outright versus the Lakers a couple nights ago. And this is a spot where we actually have some information, we have some data on this spot because the Pelicans were able to beat the Clippers 94-81 earlier in the season in a game that Paul George played in. Paul George played in that game. Obviously, CJ McCollum didn't play in that game, but they beat him. That was November 19th. They beat them 94-81. So Paul George played in that game. It was before CJ started playing for the Pelicans. The Pelicans weren't as good of a team as they are now. Obviously, they're better with CJ McCollum. So that version of the Pelicans was able to beat the Clippers with Paul George earlier in the year, hold them to 80 points. They played the Clippers again in a game that didn't have Paul George or CJ McCollum. Brandon Ingram played in that game, and they were able to whoop the Clippers that game too, 123-104. So sometimes there's revenge spots where a team's going to get their revenge on the other team, but sometimes the team they're just better than you. They match up well versus you. They're better than you. And I think the Pelicans, they have the size advantage. They have length. They're gonna do better on the glass, and they're the better defensive team. So rebounding and defense, I give the edge to the Pelicans. Playmaking, we know Paul George is a beast, but CJ McCollum, if you look at his numbers since he's been with the Pelicans, he's been balling. Brandon Ingram, when he's available, he's balling. So they can match that production of Paul George. Even if he goes off, they can match that production. And the Clippers are a team that they heavily rely on the three-point shot. So, they heavily rely on the three-point shot. So if they're making threes, they can make this interesting. But if the Clippers are having like a average or below average night from three-point range, the Pelicans are going to win this game outright. Now, I take the 2.5 because, let's not be too greedy. Let's just take the 2.5 in case it's interesting because the Clippers are gamers. We know Ty Lue is a gamer. He's going to have these guys scrapping. He's going to have them fighting. They don't give up. So when you're playing the Clippers and you get free points, why not take them? Because this group is resilient. They're not going to give up. They've shown that this season. They've shown it last season. They could be down 20 points and they're going to come back. So I would take the 2.5 points. I wouldn't get greedy. I wouldn't take money line. Just take the 2.5 points. Pelicans, they've been good on the road since they got CJ McCollum. They've just been a solid team overall since they got CJ McCollum. When CJ's in there, Ingram's in there, and then they have the big lineup with the Hayes and Valanciunas and Jones, the rookie. That's a lot of defense. It's a lot of length. Brandon Ingram at 6'10", playing shooting guard. So they match up well versus the Clippers. They match up well. And they've beaten the Clippers twice this season. With this guy here, with this guy out, with this guy there, with this guy there, it doesn't matter. The Pelicans have been getting on the Clippers, and it continues tonight. They were in L.A. Between games, playing the Lakers. And so you worry about them going out or, not being ready to play or whatever. But I think this team's focused because they're trying to secure a spot. They're trying to get to the playoffs this year. So this is a big game. There's playoff implications. You have the 8th and the 9th seed. I like the Pelicans in this spot, man. Plus 2.5. Lock it in. Official plays, once again, Knicks minus 4.5. Wolves first quarter minus 4.5. And Pelicans plus 2.5. Make sure to follow on the social medias at Petros channel. We hit with the Miami Heat yesterday, minus 2.5 at Bulls. The Heat blew them out. Yeah, the Heat, they're playing the Toronto Raptors today on the second of a back-to-back. So people wanted to take Chicago because Chicago was at home. It was a good spot for Chicago, and because the Heat played today, so things were pointing towards Chicago. And I like to look at the fundamentals and the analytics, and and to break everything down. But sometimes you just have to pick the better team. Sometimes you just have to look at it for what it is. And I knew Chicago. They just don't compete against the elite teams. They're like 0-17 now against the top teams in both conferences. So they went the whole season without getting a big win. Like, they went the entire season without getting a big win, which is really just abysmal. So, I faded Chicago last night, and it worked out for us. And just follow the channel, because sometimes I'm not able to get online and make these videos for you guys, but I always post the picks. So either you're gonna get them on YouTube or you're gonna get them on the social medias. So Twitter, Instagram at Petros channel. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks. I'm out.